So say, take a look at some other organism. Like, say I mentioned a rat. You can teach a rat to run complicated mazes. You know, turn right and then turn left and turn right and left, and a lot of things it can do. You cannot teach a rat to run a prime number maze, a maze in which you're supposed to turn right at every prime number. You can teach a human that. You know, they have to figure out the prime numbers in their heads, but then they can do it. A rat can't do it with an infinite amount of training. It simply does not have that concept. So it's a total mystery for rats. That's kind of analogous to the fact that a human embryo can't grow wings. It's just beyond its capacity. Now, there are some, I think the scientifically and philosophically interesting question is, what things are beyond human scope? What things are mysteries to us in the same way that a prime number maze is a mystery to rats? And I think there's a very interesting record of things in the world. The most simple and striking and dramatic one is interaction of objects. You go back to the medieval period and the neo-scholastic period, it was assumed that there are what were called sympathies and antipathies. So sympathies brought two objects together and antipathies pushed them apart. When you get to Galileo and modern science begins, these notions were ridiculed. What's a sympathy, antipathy? It's called an occult idea. And Galileo introduced a conception that guided modern science. It's the one I quoted. The world is a machine. Everything that happens can be duplicated by a skilled artisan. In fact, it was created by a skilled artisan, you know. But and that's what was called the mechanical philosophy. Everything works like a machine, and the modern science developed on the principle that unless you can show that something works like a machine, you haven't explained it. So Galileo, at the end of his life, was kind of in despair because he had not shown that the movement of the tides, let's say, or the heavenly bodies could be accounted for by mechanical principles. Descartes, a little bit later, thought that he had shown that you could do it. Leibniz had his own version. Christian Huygens had another version. But that was modern science until Newton. Newton demonstrated there are no machines. Nothing works by mechanical principles. He just concluded that that is an absurdity, that no person with any scientific understanding could possibly accept. And he was right, but it's true. And science has just had to kind of accept the fact that the world is not intelligible to us. That's a major mystery, and science changed totally at that point. It happened slowly, you know, so it kind of became assimilated into common sense, but scientists no longer try to find a picture of the world that's intelligible to our intuitions. What they try to do is construct theories that are intelligible, but that's a totally different topic, much lower goal, and that's post-Newtonian science. Well, that's one huge mystery, but I think there are plenty of others. Like, take, say, freedom of will. There's big debates about freedom of will. It's kind of striking that everyone who participates in these debates, including the people who write learned tomes showing there's no freedom of will, believe in freedom of will. Otherwise, they wouldn't write the learned tomes. And if we're all just thermostats of some complicated kind, then what you do is determined, and how people react is determined. So what's the point of the effort? You know, none. So everyone kind of intuitively believes it. I mean, we all believe that I can either pick this up or throw it across the room or not do anything with it. But what is it? Well, it lies beyond. I think you can speculate about what the core of the problem is. If you take a look at human science, there are two concepts that are pretty well understood. One of them is determinacy. Something determines something else, you know. The other one is randomness. Things happen without anything determining them. And that's about it, I think. Those are the basic concepts that we comprehend. And freedom of will just doesn't fit in that set of concepts. Well, it could be that this is just another mystery for humans. We don't have the right concept. Some Martian might be looking at us and thinking how stupid we are. Why do we keep the determinacy and randomness when there's obviously that thing out there that I can't point to because I'm a human? You know? Could be. And many other things that seem imponderable might turn out to be like this. I mean, once we recognize that we're not angels, we are just biological organisms, and as such we must have limits. That's just point of logic. You could not have any capacities at all if you didn't have limits, because the capacities determine the limits. And then a question comes, well, what's beyond the limits? And we have some examples, plausible examples. There may be many others. And I think that's a fertile direction to explore once we abandon the kind of belief that we can do anything, which is a very common belief. And in the modern sciences, it's very common. That's just not true.